It's basically all my videos, almost all of them, are a little mini lesson in how important love is in a kid's life. Unconditional love. That's it.
Love, forgiveness, and help. But love is most important, obviously.
Yeah, that's how I see it. So Peter, your story, you have an interesting story. Yours is a little different than most of what I do, right?
I figured that's the reason why I'd email you, and I figured that you'd call me within a day or two, because there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more common than you think, but not for what you've done.
Tell me how it started.
How the accident started?
Yeah.
Well, I was in a coma for 2 weeks, so I woke up and a lot of it got erased. But basically what happened was, it was a normal day. I went to go pick up my son. I had him in private school, which is very expensive, but I wanted him to get a decent education. He was my firstborn. I picked him up. I'd always get there 15 minutes early because I missed him so much. I just loved him so much. We're best friends. And picked him up, went to a friend's house nearby. We usually stop there for 15 minutes to an hour, hang out, and then I'd either take him to an aquarium, like a pet store, which was nearby, and then go home. Or sometimes we'd just go home. So we visited my friend, hung out for a little while, and I said, all right. And I got a phone call from my wife saying that the food was done. So I told him, hey, buddy, we got to get home. And he said, no. I was person of the day today at school. I was like, all right, well, I'll take you and get a fish for your aquarium, another fish. And he's like, all right. I never made it there. So
that was a head-on collision?
Head-on collision, yeah. He jumped over the median and slammed right into me. My wife and family went and looked at the accident scene. I never braked. I never saw him coming. So, big Yukon, and I was in a Ford Ranger, so.
And you survived. And
barely.
And the other driver survived.
Yeah, he got out of the car and tried to escape, but there was an undercover cop in back of me who had who just happened to have his camera on, so that got the whole thing.
But your son did not.
He died instantly, from what they said, yeah. 6 years old. I mean, it's the worst thing you can, it's the absolute worst thing someone can deal with in the human experience. You're wired to lose your parents, and you're wired to either I'm going to lose my spouse or my spouse is going to lose me, but you're not supposed to lose a child, especially a young child. I mean, I missed out on so many things, and I never saw it coming, and it was all because somebody made a big mistake. I know that he wasn't trying to kill us, but he made a decision that it's going to affect me for the rest of my life.
He was drunk?
He was drunk on methamphetamine, and he was smoking pot. Supposedly, the accident team, which I guess is really good in Pomona, they said what happened was he nodded off, from being on meth for a few days, and he jumped over the median and slammed down into me, 45 miles an hour. Right on my side. And usually my son sat on the other side so he could see me. But that time he wanted to be close to me, and he just kept putting his arm around my shoulder and telling me he loved me. And yeah, so.
This was how many years ago?
This is 2019, May. They shut down the whole street, obviously, because there's somebody died. They made local news. It was all over Facebook and that kind of thing. And let me tell you, comments brings out the worst in people. They don't, and I get it, they don't know the whole thing. Maybe some of them aren't extremely educated, or they're just one of those people that rush to say something. People are human. And they said the worst things in the world, so.
About what?
Well, when he hit me, beer cans flew from his vehicle. So they're all over the place. So the media said that we're both drunk. Also, I had 2 bottles of liquor that I had gotten at an estate sale. It was one of those things where everything's gone, come to the estate sale and grab whatever you want and get it out of here because we need it out of here. So I found an old bottle of sake and an old bottle of wine, and the date was pretty bad on it, but I didn't know anything about it. So I figured I'd give it to a homeless person and say, I don't know what the issue is, but if you want to try it, go ahead, maybe drink a little bit at first. But I didn't want it to go to waste. And I wanted to brighten somebody's day. And yes, you can brighten somebody's day by giving them alcohol or giving them something. It's just for a few minutes or an hour, makes them feel okay. And I understand, I get that now, especially.
Yeah, I understand that too.
I think they probably broke, and that's why the smell of alcohol was on my car, or the reason why they smelled alcohol on me.
Did they test your blood alcohol?
Yes, they did. And my mother had it done at the hospital because she didn't want any issues. And when the cop called me, when I came to, he asked me if he could have it. And I said, well, didn't you take blood? Because in the report it said you guys took, but he said, yeah, it's going to take a few weeks. So I sent it to him, and yeah, we're fine. So
you did not have?
No.
Yeah. And how do you carry on with life after that?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, of course, it doesn't really hit you. You're kind of in denial. When I was in the hospital, it took me about 2 weeks to come out of the coma, and I was told, that it was an accident. But I had so many coma dreams that I thought that I knew what happened. I thought I got into a small fender bender in Mexico, and that everybody was overreacting. And in the dreams, it was just like this. I mean, it was as real as I could tell you where I'd been, places I did, things I did, places I went. It was unbelievable. So I was sure that they were full of it. So my mom told me that I had been in an accident, and I said, where? And she told me, and I was like, what the hell was I doing there? None of it made sense. And then she told me that I had 2 strokes. And I was like, it just seemed so foreign to me because I seemed kind of normal. And I asked for a mirror, and I looked at my face. My face wasn't crooked. So I thought that people weren't being honest with me. People were definitely holding something from me. So I started to put the pieces together. I started to come to more. And then after a couple days, I asked for my phone because I wanted to, I have a small business at the time, and I wanted to answer questions, but they were reluctant to give it to me. And so I told them, it's my phone. I'm an adult. Just bring me my phone. And basically, they'd come to visit me between 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. And they brought me my phone. And when they left, I went to Google and I typed in my name, accident, and there was a picture that I had just taken of my son a week and a half, 2 weeks prior, over and over and over again. And it said, 6-year-old killed in D.U.I. And immediately, I didn't know what was going on. I thought that it was me that killed him. So then I start reading the story, and I was like, some 19-year-old hit me, and he had a prior DUI, and it didn't make sense. I was sure, no, he has to be here. This is impossible. So I called my wife, and I asked if Jules was there. And she said, yeah, he's here. I said, well, we'll put him on the phone. And she hangs up on me. I call my mom. My mom doesn't answer. And then immediately, a very good friend of mine and his wife show up. And I just point blank ask him. I said, look, I'm going to ask you something. I don't want you to lie to me. You got to tell me the truth. Is my son dead? And he said, well, why are you asking that? And I said, because I just read it in the news. He's like, well, why don't you show me where it's at? He was trying to buy himself every second that he could, and his wife already left the room trying to call my wife to explain what happened. My wife wanted to keep it from me because I had a couple surgeries coming up, and she wanted to make sure I didn't just turn off and just give up and die. So my friend starts crying and says he's so sorry. He doesn't even know how do you talk to somebody and tell them they lost their child. So my wife ends up showing up with my mom and my very best friends, and that's how she wanted to let me know that, along with the pastor/principal of the school that my son went to, and I still couldn't believe it. I knew that he had passed, but it doesn't connect. But 2 days later of being home, I saw a little toy gun that my son played with, and it was on the floor, and I knew that he was never going to touch that again. And little things like that is when it started to hit me that, he's gone. He was with me, and he passes away. The next time I see him was at the funeral. I saw my son in a box. That's the next time I saw him. Everything got erased because I was in a coma, and he passed away. So after the funeral, I grabbed his hand and I kissed his forehead, and he's freezing. And I knew that was the last time I was going to see my son. Somebody else's mistake, but I know it's mine to deal with now. You can't keep saying, well, he's the cause of all my issues. But, yeah, it's difficult. Nobody wants to lose a kid. And I know pretty much everybody has drank and drove a vehicle. I mean, it's so common. And most of the time nothing happens, but, I mean, all you need to do is slip for 1 second and something bad can happen.
Well.
Yeah. So, from the accident, the cop who was behind us ran to the man first, who jumped out of the car, and he said, "No, just relax. Just sit right here." And then he went to my vehicle, and there was blood all over my face, and he said I was unresponsive. Basically, every bone in my left leg broke, from my femur all the way to my calcaneus, my ankle. My sternum broke, which damaged my heart. My nose, my jaw broke. Ribs 5 through 7 broke, which is right side. And I had 2 strokes, one in the front of my brain and one in the rear of my brain. So at 38 years old. So I barely pulled out. The day of the accident, they told my wife and my mom to start calling everybody because I could go at any time, and I was hanging by a thread. So, and slowly I pulled out, and I was able to, but who really wants to live after something like that? It's amazing. People want to, friends and family and people, they want to help, and they try to say something, but in the end, it's horrible. And it doesn't work. All the cliches, it was his time, and maybe that's true. I don't know. He's in a better place, which I do believe. I grew up Catholic. I'm not so Catholic anymore, but I still believe. But at the time, it's, well, which one of your kids do you want to be in a better place? And not only that, all these people are people that haven't been there. They haven't been to that place. So how do you really know it's that great? That's another thing when you lose a kid, or lose your spouse, or you get really traumatized, you second guess everything. What is heaven really like? What is hell really like? And another thing that happens when you lose a kid, I think, which is common, is you start reading up on all the spiritualism, like, near-death experiences or after-death communications, just hoping to God that, you'll hear from him and he'll say he's okay. So after the accident, my landlord gave us 60 days to get out without a good reason why. We paid our rent on time and everything. And we'd been there for 7 years. That's where I started my relationship with my wife. That's where we raised my son, raised my second son. And that's where that was the foundation of our relationship and family. So I had a little bit of money. There's a life insurance policy, very small, and the school raised money for me. So I had a little bit of money, but we could not find a place. Everything was so expensive, or they didn't want upfront cash. They wanted you to have a job and have some outrageous credit, which my credit was decent, but it wasn't amazing. So we ended up in a motel for about 3 months, which was horrible. Am I going to be here till my money runs out? What's going to happen to me? Are we all going to be homeless? The only thing good about that motel was it was about 2 blocks away from the cemetery. So I'd go visit my son 2-3 times a day. And then maybe about a month into it, I just fell apart and I started crying, and I was asking him if he could, is there some way that he could, say hi or let me know for sure that he's okay, or show up or do something. I need this. I need a receipt, And he started praying, I don't know if I'm supposed to pray for this, God, but this is pretty traumatic. Can you come down and talk to me just for a second? Like, that's all I need. Just like, everything's okay, you know. Of course, I didn't get that, but there was a lot of those moments. And I noticed that when he passed, I would do this thing every day, sometimes multiple times a day, where I would drive to his school, and then I'd drive to the place that we lived at, which we didn't live anymore, and then I'd go to the cemetery over and over and over again. And it took me about a year and a half to realize what I was doing. I was looking for my son, because my son was at the school, you know, and I know that he lived with us, and I know he ended up at the cemetery. And then when I realized that's when I started to realize, well, I mean, it's weird how your brain does things that you don't know, you don't understand it, but I was able to figure out that I was searching for my son. The kid was 19 years old who hit me, and he had a prior DUI, I think 3 or 4 months earlier. And the court case basically started to gather its momentum, and then COVID hit. So I couldn't go to court. A lot of it was like done with cameras. And it dragged for like 2.5 years. And then the DA, who's a great DA, told me, look, there's a chance that he might get out and might walk. And the reason why was because he was saying that the car locked up on him. So I'm a truth seeker. I like to confront the truth. Like, I don't, even if I have a strong belief system, like, I just want to know what the truth is. Just give me truth. So I looked up everything I could about that car, and that car did have issues locking up. You know, it would lock up and things would happen. But the thing is there's no skid marks in the accident scene, so the car didn't lock up. But if the DA wasn't able to prove that his car didn't lock up with something better than that, he could walk. But the thing is he was in there for 2.5 years, and he was already tired of waiting. That can kill you, not knowing. It's better to know that something really bad is going to happen or something good, but the waiting will kill you. So he asked that he wanted to take a plea. And my DA asked if it was okay if he had got 14 years. And I don't think that's enough. But at the same time, the offer was that he wouldn't get any credit for the time that he was in there, so he'd have to waive all that. And if he got a degree or he started healing people in there was nothing he could do. He had to do 14 years. And so I talked with my wife about it, and we said, okay, he's going to be younger than me when he gets out. He's going to be younger than me when he hit me when he gets out. My wife couldn't make it because this was during COVID, and we had a dentist appointment for my other son, so she had to go to that. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to take him for 4 months. You know, everything was so scheduled ahead of time. So the DA called me the very next day and said, okay, it's going to be tomorrow, so we're going to hurry up and do it, and then it'll be over. So I showed up by myself. They opened up a courtroom just for us, so it was just me, my DA, you know, the court people, and one person showed up for him, who was his girlfriend, I think. And he was already all tattooed up in his face. He was playing the game, I assumed, to survive in prison. And the DA told me the other court cases, nobody ever came for him. His mom didn't come to support him, or his dad, no friends, nothing. So as much as he ruined my life, like, that still sucks that this guy has nobody. So they start running down all the counts, and he has to sign all the paperwork, and I can feel my blood boiling. Like, I want to hurt this guy, you know, just to look at him. And he even had a tattoo of a teardrop, you know, and I know that that's for my son. You know, they took my son's life, that he's a murderer, and I guess he's probably trying to do that to be cool, or so they don't hurt him in prison. So we're doing the whole court thing, and the DA says, oh, and my client would like to address the court, which I didn't tell her I wanted to do that. And it was so quick. Everything happened so quick. I didn't write anything down, and my brain doesn't work correctly from the strokes. So I got up there, and my blood is just boiling. And I look at him, and at least he's looking at me. I just said, look, I forgive you. I said, I forgive you, but I want you to own what you did. I know that you didn't, this wasn't an accident. Your car didn't lock up. Like, you killed my son because he made a bad decision. If you own that, then your life will probably work out better for you rather than lying to yourself. And he kind of nodded. And I said, look, I'm never going to see my son graduate from high school. I'm never going to see him become a cop. I'm never going to meet his first girlfriend. Like, the decision you made, it took that away from me. And he just kept nodding. And I told him, look, like, get a degree, do whatever you can in there, and better yourself. And when you get out, help people. That way my son didn't die for nothing. And I made a comment that, like, as bad as this life may have been, at least there's one person trying to support him there, trying to lift him up a little bit. And then that was it.
Very big of you.
Yeah, I don't think of myself as a big person for that, but I mean, if you don't forgive people, it's just going to make things worse.
For you.
Yeah, it's going to eat you up. And I know he didn't do it on purpose. It wasn't like out to try to kill me or my son. And who knows, maybe me not forgiving him would make his life worse. I hope there's something big and good that he's going to do in his life. If from my forgiving him and telling him to, get your life together. And so that was basically the court case. It was nice that it was over, but it didn't resolve anything. If he did life, it wouldn't resolve anything. People don't realize that when you lose a child, even if you have other kids, a lot of people say, hey, you got to be strong. You have another kid. And it's like, oh my God, you're right. I didn't think about that. People just don't get it. It has nothing to do with that. I'm not the same person I was before the accident. I lost my son. I feel like I'm half a person, less than that. So I don't even know how to be normal sometimes or talk to my son. I don't feel like I'm a good father. I just don't know how. I knew how before, and it's slowly coming to me. And I'm happy that I'm here to be there with him, but a lot of times I wish I had gone in the accident. I wouldn't have to deal with all this. I would be with my son. Yes, I have another son, but it's just too traumatic. I have the best wife in the world, too. I know most people can't say that. Like, I literally found the one that was for me, my soulmate. I know that's very rare, but she's perfect, and we're just perfect together. I don't know if you know the statistics on people that lose kids, but if they lose a kid, it's like a for sure thing that they're going to get divorced.
I was afraid to ask.
Yeah, it's like 95% or something. It's ridiculous. It made us stronger. And she was very patient. She's been very patient. I became disabled from the accident, so I get a check every month, and it's nowhere near enough. I had to move to an area which is very, very cheap. It's 2.5 hours away from my friends and family, and that sucks. But I just tell everybody it's just one day at a time to try to just one day at a time, What keeps me going, and this is horrible, is knowing that life isn't forever and I'm going to be dead soon. Sooner or later, one day, each day that goes by, I'm one day closer to dying. So I don't have to deal with all the pain, the chronic pain from the accident, which is horrific. Not as bad as losing a child, obviously, but... And I was the typical man. I didn't go to the hospital for anything. I would go to CVS. I'd go buy medication. Unless I felt like I was dying, I wouldn't go to the hospital. But now I have to go to the hospital. It hurts to walk. My brain doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. I forget things constantly. My wife has to repeat herself, and she's such an angel about it, but I know it gets annoying, especially to other people. Because you could tell me, you could be right next to me telling me something, and then I'll ask you the same thing 2 or 3 times. I used to have a photographic memory before the accident. It's what separated me from everybody else. I could remember all these little details about their lives, and they'd be so turned on. That somebody actually listened to what they had to say, even the small details, and even more so that you'd remember that about them. I can't begin to tell you how many people really got turned on by that. Obviously women love that, but just male friends that told me that it's great. If they ever have dementia, I'll remember everything for them. And that's another thing. With the strokes, I'm more likely to get dementia, Alzheimer's. I mean, how much time do I have? I hope I don't get it, but you just don't know. And I was right on the right path too before the accident. Business was doing well. I knew where everything was going, and just life threw a monkey wrench in there.
What has this done to your belief in God?
Like I said, I grew up Roman Catholic. I considered being a priest when I was 17. Well, not a priest, but a deacon, which is a level below. Basically, if you get married before you become a deacon, it's okay. But if you become a deacon, then you can't get married. So that's the only reason why I thought that, I'd become a deacon. But as time went by, I just thought it made more sense to me just to be a non-denominational Christian. And I really walked the walk. Even friends who were atheists and people who struggled with their belief system told me that I was basically a good guy, that I really followed it very well. But with the accident, I still believe, but I think we're going to come back. I believe that reincarnation is a part of it. That's become my belief system now. Maybe it's a defense mechanism because the trauma is so horrible. Yeah. So I hope that maybe my son will come back in some way, and I'll know that it's that it's him. I know it sounds so outrageous, but the only people that will understand are people that have lost a kid. And from what I've read, everybody knows a bunch of things have been taken out of the Bible, and the Bible is used to control a lot of people. Supposedly, there's a lot of scriptures in there that kind of allude to the fact that there is reincarnation. So, I'm a Christian who believes in reincarnation.
It's great that you haven't taken to alcohol or drugs or anything like that.
It's funny you bring that up. I used to like to drink here and there. It was never a problem. I had never been drunk in my life. But I'd like to drink with friends and, hang out. Never did anything stupid. But after the accident, it's like, they say every 7 years you have a body change. I think either I had a body change or God did something, because I'm pretty sure I was destined to be an alcoholic after what happened. But alcohol just doesn't have the same effect. I can have a few drinks and I don't feel anything, and then I just get a headache pretty quickly after or the next day. So it's like I don't have a vice to deal with it. I have to just deal with it, which it's good and it's bad. It's good for my family, but it's bad for me in the sense that I just don't have any release, or I can't forget about it. And having to deal with, that's another thing, the physical pain. I didn't realize how many doctors don't want to give out pain pills no matter what your situation is. Or you get to a pharmacy and, well, what are you taking them for? Well, what's your issue? And they're saying it right in front of everybody. So having to deal with that. I'm a legit case by, a millionfold. And there's just something has to be done. When you're on pain pills for a while, they have to send you to pain management. So I've been looking for one, and 2 of them right off the bat said either our opiate panel is full or we don't give out opiates. We do interventional stuff. It's like, well, what are you going to do? What could possibly, like, and I know you can hypnotize yourself and all that. I do that all the time when I'm in pain. Like, I'll think about something, I'll really try to focus on it to forget that I'm in pain. But it takes a lot of work, and you can't do that all the time. So, physical therapy, that puts you in more pain. And I understand that it's going to give you more range of motion, and I'll do that all day long. I'll do whatever they tell me, but I need the pain pills. I mean, they help, at least for now. Like, I'm open to, if you want to try something else, let's try it. But it really bothers me that they make it so difficult, and sometimes everything is fine, but the pharmacist says no. He has to call your doctor, and then a day goes by, 2 days go by, 3 days go by, and you don't have anything. And if you try to help yourself by, let's say you have a 30-day supply, okay, and it ends on the 30th. You can't call on the 27th because then it looks like you're a drug addict, even though you're trying to make sure there's no issues, that you'll have your pain pills by that time. So you have to deal with all that, and then you stop getting them. And then what do? I mean, for me, all I could do is be on a recliner and watch TV. And I really can't get off. I can go to the restroom. I'll try to go for a little ride, but I can't stand too long. It hurts to sit. I can't find any comfort. And then also, when you're in pain, that's when all the thoughts of your son come back. And was there something I could have done? I think that part of it's my fault. I think that I should have been really concentrating. Why don't people drive like that all the time where they're so heavily, it doesn't make any sense. You can't do that. But I think that there's times where if I had just really paid attention to everything all the time, none of this would have happened, which is completely irrational. And then you get caught up in the what ifs. What if I just went home and didn't take him to go get his fish? What would have happened? Would the accident have happened on a different street because it was his time to go? I understand we have free will and all that, but sometimes things happen and it seems like there's something else, a different force working. Yeah. So my big thing right now is just trying to be a father for my son and be a good husband and be a good friend. That's another thing. When you lose a child or you lose your spouse, people just disappear. And I've heard this from other people. It's common. I guess most people only want to be around when things are fun or things are okay, but they don't want to be around you when you went through a traumatic loss, because then you're going to bring them down. At least that's what I think it is, which is horrible. If you're a true friend, you should be around all the time. I am to my friends. I'll be there when it's depressing and I'll do whatever I can. But a lot of my friends and family disappeared. They just disappeared. They don't call. And I've reached out. I did everything I could, reached out a few times, and some of them even admitted to me that they just didn't know what to say after the accident. It's like, well, you can say hi. You can ask me if I need anything, or we can go get coffee. I'm not going to cry the whole time. I want some of my life to come back. And that part hasn't. It's really affected that much. I'm trying to get back. I want to work again. I want to be able to support myself and not be on SSI. It's difficult. I was able to photograph a wedding for the first time, and I did really well, but I was basically in my room for 2 days, sleeping and just getting over it. I was in pain. And I had to take, an extra dose of pain pills to get through the wedding. And they had no idea. But what am I supposed to do with the cards that have been dealt to me? The only people that understand what it's like to lose a child is somebody who lost a child. It's like being in the middle of the ocean and and it's very, very deep. And you have to just keep, staying above water, and that's your life now. Nothing's ever gonna come under you, so you can just kind of breathe for a second and you can relax. You're always out there in the middle of the ocean with basically nobody, and you're just trying to stay afloat, and that's basically what it's like after you lose a kid.
What would you say is the most important thing you've learned from all of this?
That you never know what's going to happen. And don't be one of those people that say, well, things can't get any worse. It's like, no, things can always get worse. They can always get worse. Period. So don't say that things can't get worse. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. And I know it's difficult, but try to kind of treat every day like it's your last. Like, be nice to people. Tell people you love them. I message a lot of people all the time. I just say, hey, I was thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. Just so they know somebody's thinking about them, and I took my time out of the day to text them that. I never get that. But I know how good that feels, because I want that, so I do that to everybody.
Have you always been this evolved a person, this compassionate a person, this empathetic?
I don't feel like I am, but other people tell me I am.
For you to be saying that you do those things, given your circumstances, is
and I did that before the accident. I just really valued friendship, and I know that friendship it's very rare. I used to tell my father, I'm going to go to my friend's house, or my friend's going to come over, and he'd start laughing, and he'd say, let me tell you about friends, and I'd get so annoyed. And he'd say, in your whole life, real, true, genuine friends, you'll be able to count on one hand, and you're going to have many fingers left over. And I completely get it. I completely get it now. I wish I could talk to him. He passed away in 2016. I wish I could talk to him and say, yeah, I'm sorry. And his dad had told him that. And he used to get so turned on by Kirstie Alley. That she went to court for Kelsey Grammer when he was an alcoholic to try to talk to the judge and say, look, this is a great guy. He's just going through some issues. That's a real friend, when they'll accompany you at your lowest and try to figure out something, try to help you in any way. That's the kind of person I am. I want to get better and better at it, including people I don't know on the street, and I just want to be helpful and help people, and I want to educate people that's the way everybody needs to be on a certain level. Yes, people are going to take advantage of you here and there, but who cares? That's life.
You're very impressive.
Impressive? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That doesn't mean that life isn't hard. Life is always going to be kind of difficult on a certain level. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people don't want to be with somebody like that or be a friend with somebody like that, because that's the case very often. My wife says this thing too. When I get depressed, which I'm depressed all the time, and then we had to move 2.5 hours away from where we've been our whole lives. I get depressed and say, nobody comes to visit us. It's pretty lonely here. And she said, well, all the people that matter are right here. And so that's what I really try to focus on, just my wife and my son. And I was hoping that this video it stops one person from drinking and driving. Maybe they're going to be in a situation where they kill somebody. That's all I want, because then that's one person that got saved.
I was just on a trip. I just got back yesterday, and we were on a highway, a 2-lane highway, high speed, no median, just a yellow line in between the oncoming traffic. And in the rest of my life, previously, I never thought that, drunk drivers happen. But now, after starting this project, I realize how many people are on drugs like meth, it'll keep you up for a week. And if you finally do fall asleep, you're going to fall asleep behind a wheel or anywhere. Or you have a seizure or a heart attack or whatever.
Yeah.
There's so many ways that oncoming car.
Yeah, and you're in this big, heavy vehicle.
Going 75 miles an hour can hit you head on. Well, you're going 75 miles.
Where I live, there's a 395. I don't know if you know about that, but that's supposed to be one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous highway in California, and people die all the time. People are they cannot wait. They have to, 2-lane highway. They have to cut off the truck. They don't see the car. Maybe it's overcast, it's gray, they don't have their headlights on. People die all the time. There's descansos everywhere, which is like there's where there's a cross, like somebody died there. Maybe there's some Catholic candles, that kind of thing. Yeah. And it's a reminder that, like, you never know when you're going to go, and people die all the time. I mean, from the moment we're born, we're dying. Yeah, so I just hope something happens to where it gets a little easier. I know that's what everybody wants, but I just want stability. Like, I just want to make enough to pay the bills and then put something away. But in California, that's getting increasingly difficult, And I don't want to be on SSI forever. Like, it's very difficult. It's so hard to make it. The town I live in is great, too. It's great. Everybody's so nice. There's no traffic. There's no people. But it's too far away that people don't want to come and see you. Like, when I come down the hill, I visit anybody. Matter of fact, after this, I want to go visit somebody. Like, I want everybody to know that I care, and I want to see you. It's the most valuable thing you can do is give somebody your time. So. At the same time, like, coming here, it's difficult. Like, God, there's just so many cars. I mean, I've only been up there since March of 2021, and there's no traffic over here. There's so much. It's like, and everybody drives like an asshole. I mean, everybody cuts everybody off. Even if they don't need to be in your lane, if they see you going fast, they feel they have to go faster to get in front of you. Like, it's so hard to deal with. But at the same time, I mean, this is where everything happens. This is where the work is. This is where people are.
That's where the opportunity is.
Yeah. Where grocery stores are, that kind of thing. This is where it's all happening. After a divorce, I kind of saw it coming. But my plan was to have a loft in LA and just do portraits and just be by myself and never get married again. That's what my plan was, But then you just meet somebody and everything is so random, and then, you had to think that there's some kind of synchronicity, or God exists for something like that to happen.
That you were divorced before you were?
Yeah, I was married twice. I was married twice before. I got married very, very young, 19. Kind of a high school sweetheart, but we didn't go to high school together. I blame myself for a large part of that. I didn't know how to communicate very well, and she had some issues, which I'm not going to say, but it could have worked, but I blame myself mostly for that. Got married again, and there were so many signs not to get married. But I felt so bad for her, and I wanted to help, and I blame myself so much for my first marriage that I just tried to stick it out 7 years, and she had an affair, and wish I would have never met her. But after that, I met my current wife, and this is, I remember that lawyer that that you interviewed. Well, soulmates do exist, buddy. I know it's extremely rare, but I mean, it does happen. And if he had one, he would completely understand. Somebody that you can completely be yourself. You don't have to act like somebody else. You don't have to worry about anything. You're always going to be supported. They completely get it. They understand who you are better than you do. It's one of the most amazing things in the world.
Yeah. The fact that you guys can survive what you went through
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
And there's so many little things that go along with that I haven't mentioned, losing a kid. It wrecks so much, It's very hard not to fall apart. I'll be like farmer boys with friends, and all of a sudden I just start crying. Something will hit me, or I'll see a kid with glasses, and I just fall apart. When am I going to see him? Are the atheists right? My God, I hope not. You just second guess everything about your life. It's a horrible place to be. Believe it or not, I had 2 other accidents after the accident, the really bad one. To get out of the hotel, my aunt let us stay at her rental because the people weren't paying. So we're there for about 2.5 years, and all of a sudden, she tells me, you guys got to leave because my daughter can't find a place and she needs to live there. So we had 60 days to find a place. We couldn't find anything. And then my wife randomly says, do you know where Ridgecrest is? I was like, yeah, you know how far away that is? She's like, well, I don't know what you want me to do, but, we have 14 days. So I was like, well, we'll go check it out tomorrow. And it was great. We checked out the town, went to Walmart first to see the people, and the place was nice. It was a house with a garage and everything we needed, and it was super cheap. So we moved over there. And I know moving sucks, and I don't want to ask somebody to help me because moving sucks. So I overdid it, and I fell out of the U-Haul. And I re-broke my femur, left one. Again, they had to pull the rod out, put it back in, attach it to my hip. My hip broke. So basically, I was on the recliner, and I just watched a bunch of soft White Underbelly. I had watched it before, a little bit here and there, but I really would love to meet Hutch, man. Like, he just reminds me a lot. He has all the trauma, but he has his son, and his son's beautiful. I just wish I could talk to him because I don't have my son. And that's another thing. I'm afraid that I'm not gonna be able to give my son, my second son, all the love that I give my first, or maybe it won't feel like I am, but I am. I don't know. God damn, dude, losing a kid just fucks you all up. Of course, I want to be the best dad ever. But how do you do that with the circumstances? I had a very good friend who passed away. This is right before I met my wife. I almost think that God put him in my way because that's what I needed after my divorce because I was so traumatized. And I asked him, because, I'd gotten my current wife pregnant. And I said, do you think I'm going to be a good dad? He's like, you're going to be the greatest dad in the world. And for him to tell me that, because he was the most critical man on earth. If there was something bad about me, he would have told me. And so when he told me that, I was like, oh, wow, okay. And then somebody else who's pretty much as bad as him told me the same thing. So I knew that maybe I'm just too hard on myself, or I can't see things. Sometimes you need somebody to show you your blind spots, because you really can't see yourself. So I just want to be a good dad and continue to be a good husband and finish. Suicide is, I can't begin to tell you how often that's on my mind, especially with the pain and it's so easy, but I just try to finish this day. When it's really bad, take it an hour at a time, take it a minute at a time. It's nighttime, let's go to bed and then start all over.
It's only been a couple of years.
Well, May 7th, 2019. So, yeah.
Oh, 4 years.
Yeah.
A few years.
And, my mom lost her firstborn to a car accident. He had a beer, so technically drinking and driving. And I remember I asked her how long, because I was thrashed in the beginning. I'm still thrashed. I was like, how long did it take you to where, you're at least able to function and kind of just flow? She said 5 years. And I was thinking there's no fucking way. 5 years, that's too long. There's no way I can do that. And I asked his dad, because we have different fathers, and I said, how long? And he said, 5 years. He said the exact same thing. And I was like, oh my God, there's no way. But It'll be here shortly, and
You're almost there.
yeah,
Well, from what I see, you're doing great.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I have good days and I have bad days. It's not always like this. So,
Well, Peter, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
thank you for allowing me to come here.